Apple AirTags, the $29 ultimate bicycle tracking device? Yes, an attention-grabbing headline today because there are millions of AirTag videos out there, but this one is about bicycles, so we're on topic here on the GPLama channel. And after getting to know how these work over the last few days, I really do think they are a must-have if you're an iDevice user. As to be expected with anything brand new from Apple, there is an absolute flood of content out there on these tags, what they are, how to set them up, and kind of how they work. Now I say kind of how they work because the details are very thin on the ground for the real-world use case scenarios. Would they be detected as often as Apple are claiming? Or would your lost devices just continue to be lost and to be never found again? These are the questions that I had, and this is why I picked up a pack of 4 and set about performing my own tests. A little while ago, I performed some tests with both the Tile and Chipolo tracking devices with pretty ordinary success, to be honest. I hid both the Tile and Chipolo tags in public, I marked them as lost, and I waited and waited to be alerted when they were found by somebody on the Tile or Chipolo networks. Now after 3 weeks, the Chipolo tag was not found at all, and the Tile tag was only found twice over 3 weeks. My testing of these over the last 48 hours, they're being detected every few minutes, making these worthy of a little more thought on how we could use them to track our bikes. Jumping to a quick overview of what these AirTags are, if you're not already familiar. They've only just been released by Apple the other day. They come in a single pack for US $29 or a 4-pack for US $99. I've gone the 4-pack. They're 11 grams, so quite light. They are circular, so they're kind of hard to mount anywhere, but it can still be done. They run on a single CR2032 battery with 1 year of life. Apple AirTags use both Bluetooth and ultra-wideband technologies, and I guess at a basic level, they're a pretty simple device. It's the back end they're linked to, which makes these ever so special. It's the Apple Find My network, which includes hundreds of millions of devices that will be looking for your little AirTag and reporting back to you its location. That's both pretty special and very, very scary at the same time. Onto a few things to know about these devices and how they work. Now the setup is straightforward as you'd expect from Apple. It's very, very easy. The ultra-wideband support is on the iPhone 11 onwards, but that's not required to make use of these. The ultra-wideband is for the nearby proximity location, which is a fun game to play if you have someone hide one of these in your house and you try and run around and find them with one of your new iPhones. Hide and seek for AirTags? Get on it, it's hours of fun. You cannot share individual AirTags with family members like you can other iDevices. These are linked to one Apple ID only. There is a limit of 16 AirTags per Apple ID, so you can't go crazy and track everything that you own. And with the Find My AirTag locator, you get point-in-time location only, be that the current location or the last known location of the device. There's no history tracking on where it's been, but there is a scenario where there is history attached to these, and I'll go into that later on. One thing that did surprise me in testing these is that these do not need to be in lost mode to be detected and located by other iPhone users. And lastly, you can make this play a tune from your iPhone or iDevice, but not in the reverse, like Chipolo and Tile, where you could click a button on those devices and have it ring your iPhone. Now, those are just some of the things to know about the AirTags and how they work. It's by no means a full comprehensive list of everything that you need to know or can know about these devices. In fact, that's virtually impossible, given the Apple documentation is very, very thin on these and how they work. Okay, now looping back to my tests where I was being pinged every few minutes when I left one of these in public, and why I'll be putting them on my bike or in all my saddlebags. The test I performed on this misplaced but not marked as lost AirTag was exactly the same as the Tile and Chipolo test. I switched off my iPhone, I walked to a brand new location to plant the AirTag underneath a seat in public. It was near a walking track. Double-sided tape works well. I then moved 400 meters away, and by the time I turned my phone back on, this had already been detected by somebody else's phone, and the location was updated to where I'd placed it under the seat. Now that's where I got the surprise of the fact I didn't even need to put this in lost mode for other people to find its location. Another bonus, when these aren't in lost mode, you can still get notifications of when they next come into range of either yourself or anybody else. So I toggled on notify when found. And within a few minutes again, bing, I got another notification. Somebody else had been in the area with an iPhone and they detected it. Now, once it's given you the notification the first time, that notification will toggle off. So I toggled it back on and kept walking home and got another notification and repeat for the next few hours as I sat there watching this thing being detected by nearly everyone walking past. So given these don't need to be placed into lost mode to be community found and reported back to you, what's the point of lost mode? Well, lost mode associates one of these little tags with a web address, and on that web address has a phone number and a little message that you enable once these are marked as lost. Now, for people to find that information, they will need to do an NFC tap that works on both iOS and Android. So if they were to come along and see your tag physically, they need to NFC tap it, and then up pops a message here saying your phone number and a little message to contact you to get your device back. So my findings there were these AirTags will be picked up by any iDevice, anywhere, anytime, and you can get notified without even having to put them into lost mode, so it then coughs up your personal information. I'll be using lost mode very sparingly and only when I really lose something that I want to give my information away to and have these things hopefully boomerang back to me. Oh, and whatever it's attached to as well. So given these AirTags are relatively cheap, super light, and work very, very well for public detection and reporting back to me where they were, they'll be going on all my bikes. Will they stop my bike from being stolen? Absolutely not. But it'll give me some information that I can use that gives me a fighting chance to find out where that bike may be. Okay, now onto the elephant in the room and one of the hottest topics being discussed about this technology, and that's privacy. Let's call this one knowing you're being tracked, or the thief will be alerted when the AirTag is following them. Now, there's tons of questions and concerns, rightly so, being posted online about these technologies being used for different reasons other than finding keys. So here's what we know so far. If somebody plants an AirTag with you and you're moving around with it, and the AirTag owner is not within range, they will be alerted. Eventually, maybe. And it's the same scenario if someone steals your bike that has an AirTag on it. They'll be moving around with an AirTag that is not theirs and the owner is not within wireless range. So those scenarios are effectively the same. They do get alerted, but it is complicated. Apple says that the iPhone alert for an unknown tag will be triggered once a user arrives at either their home address or the location the iPhone has learned to be frequently visited. What they mean by user there, it's either the thief or the victim, but it's whoever the tag is following around. They have to arrive home with that tag too. Now, in my testing, this is the case. That does work sometimes. I assume the alerts aren't immediate to deal with a number of scenarios where these could trigger a false positive out in public. Two of those scenarios I can come up with are, let's say you've checked your baggage in at an airport and a luggage handler goes from one side of the airport to the other and your AirTag is not within range of you, but it's tracking somebody else. They don't want to get an alert. They're not being tracked. They're just doing their job. Secondly, if you're on a train or a bus with, say, your phone and an AirTag and your phone goes flat or the battery dies or you simply turn your phone off, your AirTag doesn't know that. And you don't want those people around you being alerted they're being tracked. They're not. You're just sitting next to them on the bus. Now, in both scenarios, the airport luggage worker and the people on the bus will arrive home and they won't have one of your AirTags with them because you were never tracking them anyway, but they won't get those false alerts. As I said, it's complicated, and I'm sure Apple have spent years and years pulling their hair out, figuring out the best way to implement these. Now, let's go deeper into my testing. With permission, I planted an AirTag on my wife's bike prior to her going for a ride the other day. And only when she got home, 3 hours later, she was notified, and it let her know when the AirTag that I'd planted was first seen by her phone. It also gave her a history and location plot of where she'd been tracked. Now, this is more information than the AirTag owner gets, who only gets a single point location, either last known or current. Now, in that test case, it worked as we'd expected. A follow-up ride she did with the same AirTag over about the same time period never alerted her of being tracked. And another test we did yesterday morning, we went to a local wildlife park. I planted another AirTag in her bag and switched my phone off. For the whole morning, we walked around and drove home. Again, she arrived home and wasn't alerted that I was technically tracking her that morning. So, yeah, it works, but it's kind of complicated. Okay, so knowing this, if someone is going to steal your bike, in theory, they won't know you've got an AirTag on the bike until they get back to their place of residence. At which time, you've got a pretty good indication of where your bike may be. And we do know all baddies use Android phones. I joke, don't get angry actually go for your life in the comments, it's kind of handy for the algorithm. Okay, so there's also mention of AirTag beeping once a day, or when it's moved, if it doesn't connect back to the owner's iDevice after 3 days. Now, details on this are sketchy, and there's already videos out there on the internet of how to remove the speaker from this. So if you really wanted to, you can stop these getting all chirpy and alerting the baddies that you know where they are. So as you can see, there's a lot going on with this little device that in itself is quite basic, but what it connects to the Apple Find My network makes it quite powerful. And as I've said, as they're cheap, they're light and they work very well, they'll be going on all my bikes. Okay, before wrapping this one up for today, a quick disclaimer and a Q&A based on some questions I've seen asked on the internet, doing my research on this. My disclaimers are, these are very new devices and Apple could change the way in which they work at any point in time. What you've seen today in this video is based on my own experience in testing and information I've gathered online from reputable sources. Okay, onto a few common questions I've seen posted online that I do have some answers for. The first one being, does this work with an Android phone? No, it does not. You've got to be part of the Apple system to be part of the Find My network to utilize these ones. Using an Android phone, you can do an NFC tap on a lost AirTag and it will cough up that information to get that tag back to the person who owns it. Next up from the cyclists, will this fit in my handlebars? No, it won't. It's too big. Into an aero seat post, maybe, or somewhere inside the frame if you want to remove your bottom bracket and get really creative. That could affect the detection range too. For me, probably under the saddle or in the saddlebag will be good enough. As I said, it's more about giving a fighting chance of me knowing where my bike is headed or could possibly be, rather than preventing any theft. I'm sure people are going to get creative about where they put these on their bike. Next up, can I track my pets, kids, car, or llama? Sure, but remembering they'll be alerted if you're tracking them and the AirTag is following someone else around and you're not in the vicinity and they return home with it. Oh, and they've also got to be an iPhone user too. There's that. And finally, I've seen this one posted, AirTags are quite small. What happens if I lose them? Okay, and with that, we'll leave this video right here, right now. Thanks for watching, and as always, remember to hit subscribe on this channel to support what I'm up to and to be alerted of new videos. We'll see you soon.